This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Steve Goff. Now, from the Duckett Brothers Distributing Studios, this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show.
Coming to you from the warm confines of the Lansing Sports Network studios, this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. Let Price Right RV show you how to experience all Michigan has to offer in a new RV. Still time. Get out, enjoy the outdoors. Just visit Price Right RV in DeWitt on Old 27 and PriceRightRV.com. Don't plan your vacation, own your vacation with a new RV from Price Right. Make sure you tell Doug and his team that we sent you. I'm your host, Steve Goff, from the Lansing Sports Network, joined by the Dean of Sports and host of Staudt on Sports, weekdays from 10 to 1, Tim Staudt. Also, Miss Alixzandra Jyawook from the Lansing Sports Network. And the man holding it all together behind the glass, Brock Palmbush. We're here till 2:30 today in our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. They never drop the ball. Boy, they could use either Tico or Todd in the backfield this week. 3-1 after week 4. Feels pretty familiar. Same start as last season, you guys, although it was a loss to Boston College last year that provided that one loss. This year, a very competitive USC Trojans squad. Spartans played the Trojans tough, losing by a pair of touchdowns, but doing so without their top 3 linebackers for much of the game, as they lost Jordan Hall to a BS targeting call, and they lost Wayne Matthews III for the game to a scary head injury. He seems to be okay. And already without redshirt phenom Brady Pretzlaff as a linebacker too. So Spartans looked like a well-oiled machine at many points, with Aiden Childs matching highly touted Jaden Maivia nearly yard for yard. I mean, each of them threw for 3 touchdowns. Each of them ran for a 31-yard touchdown. And the Spartan receivers 1 through 3 did outgain USC's top receivers 209 to 175. Tim, your assessment of that Spartan offense?
Well, they were behind 31-10. So they were 3 touchdowns behind in the game, which changed what they wanted to do. They couldn't run the ball the way they wanted to run the ball, because now you got to try to catch up. I thought, frankly, that game would have been far more one-sided if Southern Cal was disciplined. Southern Cal committed so many penalties in that game. And Michigan State's drive in the second half, which got it down to, I think, 31-24, they had 4 consecutive penalties. Mm-hmm. If you don't commit those penalties, that drive would have ended, and then the game might have been a 4-touchdown game instead of what it was. The pass at the end obviously narrowed the gap a bit, although I think Michigan State should do that a lot more often than what they do, because they have some speed.
Sure.
I don't know that Southern Cal was necessarily, was completely focused at the end. They just want to get the game over at that point. But I thought Michigan State needs help today like that from Nebraska. Commit a lot of penalties so these drives can keep going. I mean, any team needs any kind of help you can get, especially if the game's considered a close game. I thought State played hard. And I thought they had to overcome, obviously, some injuries. It was difficult when their linebacker went out. I somewhat disagree on that targeting call. If that isn't targeting, what is it? And I would say that on 20 calls in that game.
By definition, I agree with you. And I get it. You can't a referee doesn't make a call based on a player's character.
It's the worst call. It's the worst rule, I think, by a mile in football, because I see the same thing happen. And then they get those goofball guys in the booth who are rules officials, and they come in and say yay or nay, and they're never right. And I look at one and I say, well, that barely touched the guy's neck, and now that's targeting, and he's out. What I would clearly change the rule, if nothing else, is if you want to penalize them, but don't kick them out of the game.
Yeah.
Because that's a game changer.
It is.
For anybody.
And they know that.
If you don't know, if you're going to call a targeting, you're going to call a penalty, but none of them get it right, because it's so different with everyone. I thought it was from what they both went like that, and the guy's defenseless. And most of them said, yeah, well, now Michigan State people are going to say it's a bad call. I would have said that, too. You're trying to help your own guy, and he's a key player to lose. But I would change that rule minimally by don't kick the player out of the game.
I feel like the problem with the targeting rule is that you cannot, from a physics standpoint, you cannot change the trajectory of your body once you commit to leaving the ground and making an effort. And if a quarterback decides to move around, a lot of these quarterbacks are going down late, sliding. If you watch Patrick Mahomes, that guy's the master at running the ball and then sliding at the last minute, knowing he's going to take a shot to the head. But like my middle son says,
what was the purpose of targeting as a rule in the first place?
To protect the quarterback.
To protect the players.
Yeah.
Whoever the players,
let's be honest.
That the rule was put in to protect players. Well, then why are we arguing over a centimeter or an inch, whether it is or it isn't? Because they all call it differently. They all do. Well, I mean, State's gotten some breaks on targeting, and I look at it and I say, I don't think it is, but I'm not refereeing the game, so I don't know.
And they can't just leave it up to the ref to arbitrarily say, well, that looked like targeting to me, so I'm going to call it.
Well, you realize now if he calls that call, you're not going to play her out of the game, maybe not only for that game, but the first half of the next game. What helped Michigan State is Jordan Hall went out in the first half, so the half he sat out was that game, so now he doesn't which to me is crucial. He plays today.
Yeah. So, Alexander, what'd you think of that call?
Well, I might have to take my headset off and switch headsets because I feel like Tim is kind of taking my thoughts here. But I would absolutely agree with you guys, and I do think that nonetheless we are still protecting our players. And to your point, you really can't change once you leave that field. And especially these guys are so big, they're not necessarily the same mobility as these leaned up, tiny, tight ends and wide receivers per se.
Yeah,
not even tight ends.
It's to me, it was BS only in the regard that, again, I don't think there was any intent. I don't think there was any. I feel like that rule is just
an outdated rule,
outdated and ludicrous, and needs to be re-examined. There's
or streamlined.
It's a flawed. It's a flawed rule.
I don't understand why the networks think we need a rules analyst in the booth. That's another salary. Those guys aren't reffing the game.
Agreed.
I can get your opinion or her opinion, and it's the same as that guy's opinion.
Yeah, why do we need him in the booth?
He's not calling the game. If he wants to explain the interpretation of the rule or any rule without saying, I think it's a penalty or it's not, I don't understand why they think those guys matter. They don't matter. The only one who matters are the officials and the replay booth on any call, let alone that call. But I don't think any coach is happy with the way that rule is designed because it's so arbitrary and it's so
subjective.
That's she bailed me out. Yeah. I mean, it's so subjective. It's just an opinion, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And if it goes against the home team, do you think the home team crowd's going to agree that that's targeting? So now you got a crowd that's all riled up by a bad call.
Yeah, but you can't let. I mean, as much as you shouldn't let that play a factor. But I guess the bottom line for me is they don't bring any human element into it. They can't, because anybody who knows Jordan Hall knows the guy isn't a dirty player. He's not a dirty player. He's quite the opposite. And in the community, he's a gold star guy.
Right, but to Alexandra's point, that's not the point.
No. They're not bringing that in.
He's trying to make a tackle.
Yeah.
And he's got a big physical guy that he's got to bring down.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking, let's see, now I got to stay away from that. I mean, obviously there's going to be a collision. That's football. And it just happened to be, in my opinion, that's where they hit, okay?
The age-old argument nowadays between fellas at the and ladies and gentlemen at the bar, they're tipping a few back. They're going to argue about, I remember when football was for tough people.
Well,
and they have taken a lot of that out of it. And with CTE and everything, I get it.
That's an issue. There's no question it's an issue, helmet to helmet. There's no question it's an issue.
And I think on top of that, we saw in this game exactly why there should be some of those restrictions, because you look at what happened with Wayne Matthew III. I mean, we all probably saw a little bit of DeMar Hamlin in that situation.
Oh,
so
yeah, we did.
There are those rules in place, absolutely. But, does that mean that some of them should be examined? Absolutely not. Some of them should be.
Well, let's switch gears. We can talk about this all day. But sticking with the defense, the Spartans missed their top three linebackers. It showed in the stat sheet for sure. Alex Van Sumeren continues to be a force on the front line. The Spartan defensive backs also did yeoman's work. I was surprised that they did as well as they did. Unfortunately, it meant that USC was getting deep a lot, because we weren't getting pressure into the backfield, and the sacks are not coming either. But it could have been much worse. One of the nation's top offenses certainly got exposed, and then Illinois proved that last weekend against the Trojans.
Well, they came for blood, especially coming after Indiana. I was a little happy for them. I can't deny that, especially after licking my wounds. I don't know if that's fair sportsmanship, but it was nice to see a turn of events in that game.
I have no problem with Illinois, not one bit. But what other thoughts do you have, Alexandra, in your assessment of the Spartans' performance last week?
I thought that we held on a lot better than we would. And, I expected this to be a low-scoring game, and I was really impressed by how much our offense did punch through for what we were going up against, especially in that loud of a crowd. I had quite a few friends from my alumni circle there, and it was a very energetic, exuberated game. When Childs hit Omari Kelly with that 75-yard touchdown, it really did invigorate a lot of us as fans watching, especially when, we're up at 2 in the morning trying to hang on, right? I was also happy to see Jack Velling put in some work there near the end of the third quarter. We went back-to-back with those touchdowns, especially when Childs found that end zone for his first touchdown, which I think was something, too, that we all really needed, again, after coming back from that injury, unfortunately. But I couldn't help but be angry when we did see the Trojans score the final touchdown, and kind of was such a traumatic exit. But
it was tough. It was hard to stay awake till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, by the way, Wayne Matthews III should be playing today. He has been all bye week, and Coach said that, if he continues to progress in the ways that he is, we can anticipate to see him out in the field today.
That'll be helpful, big time, having both he and Hall out there. I've been impressed with Brady Pretzlaff, the young man from Gaylord. Redshirt freshman has been he's an athlete, you can tell, and he's made some great plays this year so far.
Yeah, but he's banged up too.
Yeah, but he's out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. One player we haven't mentioned yet continues to be a real not-so-secret weapon, and today his stat line makes up our Spartan stat of the game, brought to you by Schupan Recycling. And you love this guy, Tim. Today's Spartan stat, 56.3 yards per kick. Ryan Eckley may have kept the Spartans in it as close as they did with his punts. 2 of them inside the 20, had a long of 57, with an average of 53 yards per punt through 4 games. Did you know Ryan Eckley and Michigan State lead the entire country in that category, Tim?
I can't imagine anybody punting more effectively than what he's done, and it's a huge factor today. Do you want Nebraska to have a 50-yard field, or do you want them to have a 90-yard field?
Absolutely.
And that's anybody. Even Southern Cal. Can they go 90 yards without committing a penalty, committing a turnover? Do they have to throw it and they don't want to throw it? And that guy, look, I don't know how many times he's going to have to punt today, but the NFL would love to have a weapon like this guy.
Don't say that too loud.
Yeah, and we don't want him going yet. Well, you know what? Michigan State has a history of that.
They do.
Bryce Behringer.
They've had great kickers in a variety of ways. But this guy, he looks like the Ryder Cup McElroy throwing it at the pin. The guy sticks it in there. I'd like to know how he practices, because he must practice that, trying to figure out a way to stiff it inside the tent. And I would, if I'm Nebraska and he's down there, don't catch it. You got to hope the thing bounces into the end zone, because if you catch it, you're just doing what he wants you to do.
Well, then watch. What'll happen is he'll have that wicked had spin on it, and all of a sudden it sticks on the 1 yard line. He does something.
But to the point, any team that's got to go 90 on them, because look, their defense is that's their weakness. Everybody says that. They gave up 530 yards. All right.
Sure.
If you do that every game, you're going to lose almost all of them, if not all of them. So you're going to have to make them earn it as a play. And so far, they've been relatively good, not knock on wood, not turning it over in a bad position, right? They've done pretty well at that. They haven't made a whole lot of stupid penalties like Southern Cal's. When I watched Southern Cal, I think when Southern Cal got to 31-10, they slacked off.
Yeah.
I think they thought this is just a cakewalk for us there. I would tell Nebraska, did you see that? Because if State gets 3 touchdowns down, that doesn't mean the game's over. They're still going to play.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Well, we will get more thoughts from you on the X's and O's and the one-on-ones in a little bit, Tim. That is your Spartan stat of the game, presented by Schupan Recycling, as leaders in metal and plastic recycling and processing at Schupan. Their commitment to a better world goes beyond recycling. We'll get you rolling with the Spartan Tailgate Show weather report in just a few, brought to you by Feldman Chevrolet. Meanwhile, you're listening to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, live from inside our hot and warm confines of Pine Tree Road, presented by Duckett Brothers Distributing, our lovely studios. More next on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
We're back on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV from our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. We miss Tico. We should have Tico on again.
I know. He hung around with us.
He's great. He's a great dude. I'm Steve Goff. With me, Tim Staudt, Alixzandra Jyawook, and the man pushing our buttons. He's good at it. Behind the glass, Brock Palmbush. Our friends at Playa Bowls are this season's proud sponsor of our Drive of the Game. Earlier this week, I had a chance to speak with Jonathan from Playa Bowls about what they bring to the table. See what I did there? In Spartan Nation. And we're lucky to be joined today by Jonathan from Playa Bowls. They, of course, are our sponsor of the Drive of the Game. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We've had a chance to sample the Playa Bowls, and let me just say, it's seriously the most amazing combination of flavors around. I almost feel guilty when I eat something so delicious. I'm like, this can't possibly have any healthy, traits to it, but I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a guilt-free meal replacement. Honestly, a lot of people look at it and they think it's a dessert or, after dinner type thing. And it's, there's no added sugars in a lot of our bases. Our acai has a little bit of cane sugar, but aside from that, it's no added sugar. So you're getting all the benefits of if you're eating an acai berry or blended frozen banana or whatever the case may be. So it's literally guilt-free until you start adding the Nutella and the white chocolate, which people tend to do. But you can add that and feel a little less guilty about it.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the qualities then of the acai berry and things like that, because it's become kind of a very popular item worldwide these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Acai, it is, for people who don't know, it's a little tiny berry, kind of looks like a blueberry almost, and it's packed with antioxidants. So it's, hailed as a super fruit. And that's what we're known for. Our acai, a lot of places you go to when you get an acai bowl, it's acai powder and they mix it with another fruit or apple juice even. With us here at Playa Bowls, we're 100% blended acai. We actually have our own facilities that process it. So, from branch to bowl, we know exactly what's going into our acai. Like I said, just a little bit of cane sugar, but we don't take anything away from that. We don't cut it with anything. So you get all those antioxidants, and it's just a healthier, the purest form of acai you can get around.
Well, you tell you what, it's a great way to prepare for kickoff, too. You feel strong. You feel satisfied. It's great food all around. Playa Bowls, where can folks find you?
So we're 225 East Grand River. So we're right on the corner of MAC and Grand River.
Okay.
Right centrally located on campus. Go and walk into the stadium. You can stop right by us and grab it.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And what are your hours normally on non-game day?
So we're 8 to 8.
Okay.
So 8 to 8 starting October 1st.
And now we know where to find you. We know when you're open. What does it mean to you to be a part of the Spartan community?
It's great. I mean, as soon as we moved in on campus, the Spartans and the community of East Lansing embraced us. Our grand opening was insane. We had a line all the way to Target. So if you know that block, you know how long that line was. And people were so excited. The Spartans, they cater our bowls for the players a lot. So it's really good to have their support. And we feel embraced and we feel proud to be a part of the East Lansing community.
Talking with Jonathan from Playa Bowls. And Jonathan, you just talked about catering. Talk a little bit more about that. What kind of catering availability do people have with you?
Yeah, not a lot of people realize that we offer catering. They come in and they get their bowls and their smoothies, and you can bring that to the office. You can bring that to any party, wedding reception. So there's two kinds of catering we can do. You can just order the bowls a la carte. Say, hey, I need 25 Nutella bowl, 25 Pura Vitas. Or we have like a build your own bowl buffet style. We cut all the fruit for you. We give you all the bowls, all the spoons, drizzles, granola. You can set it out and have your guests just build their own bowl.
I'm thinking we need to do that here at the Spartan Tailgate Show soon, and I could put a hurting on that. Jonathan from Playa Bowls in East Lansing, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
As mentioned, Playa Bowls is this season's sponsor of our Drive of the Game. Tim and Alixzandra, I don't think this one can be anything other than the Spartans' first scoring drive of the game.
Tolliver now in at running back. Shotgun snap to Aiden Childs. Flush to his right, throws on the run. Got a man open. The catch is made inside the 10. Krishan McCray into the end zone. Touchdown, MSU.
3 minutes, 36 seconds, 6 plays, 75 yards, a 42-yard touchdown pass from Aiden Childs to Krishan McCray. The drive of the game presented by Playa Bowls. Playa Bowls, grab your friends and dive into Playa Bowls, where the beach meets the bowl. Tim, your thoughts on, again, you've got more than just Nick Marsh. You've got more than Omari Kelly. How about this Krishan McCray guy coming out of nowhere?
Today I'd throw the ball down the field. And when I say down the field, I'm talking 25 yards or farther. Mm-hmm. They don't do that very. They did against. The Southern Cal first touchdown. The guy was almost wide open in the picture with nobody around him.
Yeah.
I think you get a defense that makes a mistake early in a game on a deep pass more than any other play. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm thinking about is if you win the toss today, do you take the ball or do you defer?
I was literally just going to ask you that.
I've thought about that, and the only reason I would defer is I want the ball to start the second half in a game like this, because if Nebraska gets any momentum to start the second half, it's going to the first drive of the second half to me is so crucial in a lot of these close games. Sure. Because who was it that State? Back the other game when Boston College, you got it to start the second half. And the momentum is just enormous. If you kind of feel we're going to win this game, we got to get it now. Now, the downside to that is you may never take the field with your offense tied. Mm-hmm. You may be behind because they may go right down and score. You're trusting your defense is going to get off the field to start. You can't have it both ways, right, to start the game. If it was me, with not knowing all the facts, everything, I want the ball to start the second half.
You agree with that?
Yeah, and I think Nick Marsh would too. We've heard him say, "Hey, Coach, I got 2 on me. Give me that dang ball."
Well, to that end, Nick Marsh would take the ball on both sides of the half, but you can't have it that way. If Michigan State doesn't win the toss, and they have to,
they'll defer. They'll clearly defer.
So if Michigan State has the ball to start the game, Tim, you're just all bets are off. You're going deep.
Well, I think Nebraska's got to think, where are they weak? Where have they been weak? Where can we attack them? They're obviously going to attack them down the field. There's no question about that. The thing that was amazing to me about Nebraska's last game was they did a good job on Michigan's offense, but for about 4 or 5 big plays, those 2 running backs, who State's going to face in a few weeks, those 2 running backs got past the line and outran everybody to the end zone. Now, I don't think State's got anybody like that. I don't think they're going to be breaking runs, but they might break a pass or 2, right? They might do that.
Sure.
And I think, it's hard to contain Childs. Southern Cal didn't contain him. I'm waiting for a team that says one way or the other, he is going to make plays from the middle of the field. Because when he went down twice getting hurt, it was from the middle of the field. When he gets outside of contain, he doesn't get hit. He gets up the field with his speed, and then he steps out of bounds. Or he throws it. And on the broken plays is where he's good. The safeties have to decide, is he going to throw it or do I have to come up and stop him? Because he might get a first down on 3rd and 14, and he's going to get a first down when we thought we had him stopped. He's good. Let's give him credit where credit's due in that regard.
I would agree. I would say, unfortunately, your wish is Michigan's command in a couple weeks, right?
Well, look, I don't know who's hurt between now and then. I don't know what's changed between now and then. Am I surprised a little bit by Michigan early on? Yeah. And I think one thing that helped Michigan was going to Oklahoma. They put them all in a tough situation in a very difficult setup, and they learned right away, because now we're going to go to Nebraska in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. All right. And I think I think it helps Michigan State to have come off Southern Cal. They know what they got. Those are the guys they got to play if they want to get to the next level. Athletes like that, okay? And I think the time thing was in it, the time of the game. You saw what happened when Southern Cal played at 9 o'clock in the morning last Saturday. And Lincoln Riley screamed to high heaven at the Big Ten about, you just sent us from late at night to 9 o'clock in the morning our time the next week. It's not fair to us, and they got beat 34-32.
Is there legitimacy to that?
Well, if you're going to expand the Big Ten and use both coasts, you can't have it both ways.
You can't. Yeah.
I mean, the networks could care less who's tired and who isn't tired.
Yeah.
Southern Cal, Illinois, you guys are going at noon to get the day started with a big game. And it was a big game. Went right down to the last play. The guy kicked a field goal to win it after Southern Cal got back, all right? So at 4 o'clock this afternoon, 4 o'clock this afternoon, I don't know. I don't ever think of Michigan State football at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's what it'll be today. Nobody's going to have a fatigue issue.
No.
And it'll be ending when it's light.
How
For the
about
most
that?
part, I would think it'll be ending when it's still light out.
Or pretty close, anyway. Well, there may be some fatigue, and there certainly may have been some injuries or will be some injuries this weekend. Alexandra, the Spartans have been the epitome of next man up this season, not by choice, but it's kind of what you prepare for, and the Spartans' depth is certainly a strong suit, and they're going to need it to stay that way going forward, relatively healthy heading into today's matchup.
Yeah, and you know what? That brings us to the Wilson Heating and Cooling Spartan Injury Report. GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lennox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right.
You know, like I said, the Spartans are already without redshirt junior offensive lineman Luka Vinchik. Alante Brown also for the season, and now we can add redshirt freshman Brady Pretzlaff to that list. He also lost starting tackle Stanton Rammel, Tim, and that's a big one. He's out for at least a month and won't suit up today. Defensive lineman Quindarius Dunnigan and safety Nakai Martinez, who missed a lot of time as well already, they're also questionable today heading into the game. If they can play, do you like the defense chances a little bit better?
What are they playing at what percent? Are they playing over an injury?
No, this is true.
Or are they 100%? Because if they're not playing 100%, that's new. That's not how you know them.
Yeah.
And I don't know that. They believe me, nobody hides injuries away from the public better than Michigan State. They don't tell you anything other than the fact that what's his name got on the plane to come back from Los Angeles.
Wayne Matthews
because
III.
of the dire injury that a lot of people feared that he had. When you knew he came back with the team, well, then you knew that it wasn't grave because he was out of the hospital. But for playing injuries, for instance, Nick Marsh.
I was just about to say he was not at full capacity.
So what did he play at? I don't know. What did he play
jumped
at?
right away and got in the game.
He did, but
he played well.
Coach came on and said that he still was overcoming, his injury. So it wasn't at full. But if that's how he's going to play with USC, I'm happy. Bring him on after his 2 recovery weeks.
Well, and that's the point, Tim. If they're playing better in terms of their energy level, their fitness level, and what have you after USC, maybe then we're.
Are you better at it with 80% him than anybody else? The
Pretty
other
much,
thing is
yeah.
you got to ask these guys. Can you how much can you go?
Well, they're not going to lie. They are going to lie. I mean, they're going to tell you
in his case, he didn't look. Look, teams know him. They know who number 6 is.
Right.
They're going to follow him.
But to the public eye.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's going to surprise anybody. They know. I mean, these guys scout. They all know who they all are. Everybody knows everybody. And this game has had 2 weeks for scouting. Mm-hmm. They've had 2 weeks to look at each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, they know each other inside out and backwards. They know the size of everybody's underwear, for crying out loud. They've had 2 weeks for this, and they both have got to be highly motivated. And in a game like this, again, who makes mistakes and who gets the breaks? Who gets a bad call to go your way? Who gets a bad call that really hurt you? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is that a factor in the game? Well, you can't predict that, but it's part of the sport. And who gets injured? What if Dylan Raiola goes down? If I knew he went down in the first quarter, I picked State by 2 touchdowns. Yeah. But if he doesn't go, what if it's Childs? What if he goes down? Because you don't know that. And those guys get hit all the time. That's what I'm saying. If I'm Nebraska, what I've seen in the first 4 games where Childs is dangerous is when he gets outside of contain. And it's easier said than done because it looks to me like some of these guys have him absolutely cornered dead to rights, but he still he escapes. I mean, he's very elusive.
He finds a way.
He gets out.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Steve, Tim, thank you. That is your GL Wilson Heating and Cooling Spartan Injury Report. GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lennox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right, Steve.
And this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, live from the studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV. I'm Steve Goff. The Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Miss Alixzandra Jyawook are here with me. We are on the air with you till 2:30 this afternoon from the warm confines of the Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Joining us today is a man who's well-versed on all things Spartans. He's gotta be. He's the studio host for MSU football. Is that correct, the title?
Yeah,
okay,
that works.
On the Spartan Media Network, as well as being the voice of MSU women's basketball and a proud new papa. He is, and more details on that coming soon. Our good friend Dalton Shetler. Dalton, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. I think the dad job so far has been the most tiring out of all of them. I know you said we'll talk about it later, but it's great. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know what? We're happy to have you here. And listen, I had the privilege of watching you from the box on your, first solo when George Blaha was out accepting his award at the Boston College game.
Yep.
And for me, having the privilege to see it, it was eclectic. You're fantastic up there. But I have to know, what was probably the hardest thing that you experienced with your first, solo play calling?
It's great. Honestly, first off, I just was so grateful for the opportunity. Look,
Yeah.
George Blaha's been doing this 49 years. He's only missed 2 broadcasts.
Yeah.
That was the second one in 49 years, and for a great reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a short list of things that would keep you away from it, but making the Naismith Hall of Fame is truly a great honor. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is I've done a lot of football play-by-play over the years. A lot of it's at high school level or maybe smaller college level. I never had as much resources and support as what I experienced with the Boston College game because, of course, you have a statter, you have a spotter, and a statistician would be the better term. But you have all of this information consistently given to you. I would say that was the biggest thing. There was so much there. It was turned into more managing than trying to manufacture, where I typically find in play-by-play. So that was an interesting experience, but it was really appreciated once you started to get the handle of it.
Do you find yourself to be kind of overwhelmed with the amount of information being fed to you during the broadcast? Are there a lot of people bringing information to you, or how does that look?
There is a ton of information, and there is a lot that's being presented to you. And it's funny because, I think you all have these experiences too, right? Where if you sit down at a broadcast and you're maybe going by yourself, you're looking for ways to manufacture. You're looking for ways to, what are good time fillers? Well, anytime there's dead air, why don't I hit score? Why don't I hit time? Why don't I hit where the ball is? Give all that information as a reset. But when you're given information constantly, it turns more into managing, okay, what's most important for the listener at this point in time? I know this is pretty in the weeds, but it is actually kind of a fun exercise, and it certainly helped take my game to the next level.
Childs went in the gun. Now he's going to go under center. Brings in the receivers close to the line. Belling in motion left to right. Play action. Rolling right. Looking across now to the near side. Omari Kelly. Yes! Touchdown Spartans! Oh my, Omari! And the Spartans storm the field. The players rush from the sideline. 42-40. That's your ball game. Michigan State wins.
When you watch back on the Spartan Media Network, the highlights of when you were play calling and, we win the game and you stand up, but you can literally kind of see you reaching. I kind of feel like I'm doing Spider-Man right now in the studio, but reverse, right? So instead of him shooting webs, you were kind of grabbing right as it came. So that was interesting, but it was exciting to watch you, and we're all very excited for you here at the Spartan Network.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's I have always been made fun of for talking with my hands too. So now everybody got to see it.
Same, absolutely. They were just making fun of me earlier. They're like, you got to be in front of the players. And on the same note of being excited, I got to bring it back. You are a brand new papa. We are also so overwhelmed, so overjoyed. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Honestly, another thing I'm grateful for is being in radio, so not everybody could see all the bags under my eyes that I've developed in the last couple of weeks. But no, it's been unbelievably exhilarating, exhausting. It's been a journey of just 2.5 weeks that I'll already never forget. I know the journey's just beginning, but it's been so much fun. We're just very, very blessed. It's been great.
And I know that you guys were waiting, so it's a little boy.
Yep.
Very exciting.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. So next we're going to get him a little jersey for you.
Okay.
And then we're going to have him run around, right? Do some play calling.
I think that works. So you stick a mic in front of him right away.
Yeah,
we could probably finesse a little tiny headphone set, kind of like what Herbie does with a college game day with Peter. But
there you go.
That's what we're going to do.
Well, Dalton, it's the greatest feeling in the world to add a new teammate to your house. And I'll tell you what, wait till you have 5 kids, and then the bags under your eyes just get subsequently bigger. It happens.
Steve, I'll leave the 5 to you and others. I think 5's over capacity at this point.
Oh, my gosh. MSU Spartan women's basketball play-by-play, as well as Spartan Media Network studio host Dalton Shetler joining us today. So, Dalton, talk to me a little bit. Let's get off the gridiron for a second. And I know you're excited about the upcoming season for the women's basketball season. Coach Freilich's got the ladies ready to rock and roll. What have you seen so far?
Well, I think when you're looking at Michigan State women's basketball, especially under Robin Freilich, right? This is year 3. Year 1 was just a wild success that kind of shot out of nowhere and made the NCAA tournament. Year 2, make the NCAA tournament again and win a tournament game with the victory over Harvard in the NCAA tournament this last year. Now, what is that next step? It's maybe trying to get to a Sweet 16. And in collegiate women's basketball, the way to do that is be a top 4 seed and host the NCAA tournament first weekend at your place. How does that happen? Well, for this personnel, the staff went out and grabbed a few different transfer portal additions, but did it so strategically that it really rounds out the roster. So they return Grace Van Sluten, we should mention, who just won a gold medal with Team USA over the summer in the Pan Am Games. Theron Halleck returns, but then you go and add Jalen Brown. Somebody was scoring about 18 points a game at Arizona State this past year, multi-level scorer. You had Mara Dykstra from Montana State, a stretch forward that can really round out the team. And Rashonda Jones from the Big Ten over at Purdue, she comes over and looks to take the point guard responsibility. So you added the pieces to really make this thing work all around. And then we're not even talking about some of the other returners and some players that are looking to step up in a big way. Ines Sotelo, Emma Shoemate, who had a good year this past year. Finally, Isa Alexander is healthy for the first time in 3 seasons. Oof. So getting her back in the post, there's a lot of exciting things there that looks to take that next step for this program.
What is it about Coach Freilich? Well, I've asked you this before on different shows, but what is it about her that can, make it exciting to play here at Michigan State? What does she bring to the table?
Honestly, what Coach Freilich has done here at Michigan State with the women's basketball program, it's something unlike I've really ever seen in sports anywhere I've been or people I've talked to. It's kind of a unicorn culture. It really is fed off of so much positivity. I mean, so much in sports where we're just demanding all the time, right? And we're demanding. And honestly, that works pretty well. There's so many different areas where honestly that's probably the most popular recipe there is. But Robin Freilich finds a way to challenge and get the best out of players while players are naturally, organically enjoying every step of the process. It's almost being challenged out of positivity. And I don't think you see that often, but that's what Robin Freilich's been able to do with this program. And it's been because it's had such that certain key, that certain note, it's been able to be infectious among everybody. And the energy is just at an all-time high.
What do you think about their chances this year?
Oh, I think they're pretty strong. I think this is going to be a really good team. And I think it's interesting because you give the prism of the Big Ten Conference is the best it's probably ever been in women's basketball. Last year, 12 teams made the NCAA tournament. A 13th in Minnesota just missed the cut on the bubble, just on the other side. Minnesota's going to be back and better than even last year. So you have 13 teams that legitimately could make the NCAA tournament from the Big Ten Conference, which is ridiculous to say. But Michigan State is starting to climb its way towards that top tier in that Big Ten Conference. A lot of people are going to like UCLA as they should. UCLA, off of a Final Four appearance, they're back with Lauren Betts, who was a player of the year. They're
Penn
back.
State.
Penn State gets Kiyomi McMillan, which they're going to be interesting to see how they kind of come together with that. But UCLA will be at the top. After that, there's going to be a lot of conversation about Maryland, the team down the road, Michigan, and Michigan State. I think that's your 1 through 4 that a lot of people are going to try to figure out. But the point is, Michigan State, from a program that wasn't in the tournament just a few years ago before Robin Freilich got here, now is starting to have that conversation at the very top of the best conference in college basketball.
I love that, and I love hearing that the Big Ten is now the best conference in college basketball.
Some would argue SEC, but I'm going to argue Big Ten.
Yes, of course. Dalton Shetler joining us today, getting excited for the Spartan women's basketball season, and we'll be out there live at Breslin for some key games. I know you and I were talking about those. I circled USC on the calendar, but Juju's out.
Juju Watkins will miss the year. It really is a bummer, right?
Yeah.
Because the NCAA tournament last year came, ended up going down in that injury in the second round. Really is a bummer, too, because USC, even without her, gave UConn the best run for the money that anybody did in the entire tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder what could have been with Juju. But now to see a generational star and talent like Juju be out is really tough. It's tough for the game. It's tough for everybody. But it does bring into question, like we mentioned 4 teams. We didn't mention USC, but USC still deserves to be in that conversation, but it'll be interesting without Juju this year for them.
Well, now let's jump back onto the football field. Do you see good things happening in the future for MSU football?
Almost certainly, I think. I think it's fascinating when you take a look at the Spartans. Obviously, you're 3-1 right now, and you're making your way to Nebraska. The Big Ten as a whole in football, I was just having this conversation on a different program. I think the Big Ten is having a great year for a conference as a whole. I think the middle pack of the Big Ten has all improved up a step or two. So even though Michigan State is also, I believe, a much better team than last season, they're going against people that are currently along the same lines of progression.
Well, look at Indiana. I mean, their past 2 years, they are a whole different team as an entirety.
Completely agreed. And then look, Maryland's undefeated right now. You have Nebraska having the season they are. Washington, their only loss was to Ohio State, and a lot of people thought Washington might even be able to handle their own against Ohio State. That middle pack of the Big Ten is tough. So even if wins are hard to maybe come by macro level on this season, that doesn't mean that Michigan State's taken necessarily a step back. The offense, I think, has taken a big step forward. The defense still has some questions, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we see that with what the passing defense number surrenders each week. And now the injuries are starting to feel like compile in some different areas. Makes you a little bit leery about that part. But I think on the whole, it's been an exciting improvement for Michigan State.
You've gotten a chance to work pretty closely with Coach Jonathan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on him?
It's funny when we had the first Big Ten media days after he was hired at Michigan State, and all the different people that came up that were part of the West Coast contingent that were then being introduced to the Big Ten, all saying, we don't know so much about that Mark D'Antonio guy, but Jonathan Smith seems like that type of character. And you see it when you're up close, the way he goes about some of his business. It's very much a similar demeanor and a similar style. I think that type of reserved, focused effort and intentional effort that you see from Jonathan Smith will certainly help get this program back to the standard that's been set.
How much time do you think Spartan Nation should give a head coach at a brand new program to them?
Well, and it's such a good question because the times keep changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people get more and more impatient, and success doesn't necessarily sustain at the same level that it used to. With the transfer portal and everything else, I mean, like you referenced Indiana's success. Now, also Curt Cignetti's starting to prove that this isn't a one-year wonder with Curt Cignetti, that he might be able to stabilize something at Indiana. But a lot of programs might have success like that and then quickly drop back off. Even in our backyard, 2021, Michigan State in the Peach Bowl. And then we didn't see that type of same success the next couple of years. So I would say just don't be a prisoner of the moment. If you're a fan and you're looking at this and you're looking for the right perspective, keep paying attention to the trends. Are things improving in recruiting? Are they improving in personnel? Are they improving with coaching staff hires? Things like that. That's not the favorite answer for everybody in 2025, where everybody wants everything at the click of a button, and they look down the road and they see Indiana with their success in a couple quick years with Curt Cignetti. But that's more the outlier than the rule. and you just have to be kind of patient with this.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you bring that up because Kirk Cousins just got off of an interview, and he pretty much echoed the same thing. He said, I like what I see. I like the momentum that Jonathan Smith has. I think that we need to give him some time because, to your point, there is so many other variant factors that we have now than we didn't 10 years ago when a D'Antonio or Nick Saban could have came in, and it looks a little bit more explosive. Well, you were grounded to a team for so long. You had to play there. You couldn't just jump transfer portal to transfer portal when a check gets waved in your face.
Right.
So you look at that, loyalty to a coach, to your team, to your teammates, and how that impacts culture. And a rebuilding time takes a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it also begs the question of how much can you put into player development if you're a program nowadays? Because
we were just talking about that last week with Tico.
I mean, just like you're talking about, I mean, some of what Michigan State is built on, the foundation, is player development. Absolutely.
Spartan dog, brotherhood mentality. You hear that over and over.
Yeah.
You invest in a Le'Veon Bell when he's 18 years old and a two-star or whatever out of Ohio, and you watch him become what he is. I mean, that's a lot of the foundation. And with today's day and age and how everything has changed, the instant gratification, the transfer portal, everything else, find the ways to be competing at the best. And back to that Spartan standard that we know, it's a good question.
Dalton Shetler from the Spartan Media Network. He'll be heading down to his studio, just directly down from ours, to handle things in just a few short hours here when kickoff takes place at 4 o'clock here as Michigan State takes on Nebraska. Dalton, thanks for joining us today, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Congrats, Dad.
Yes.
Time for another break as the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show rolls along. He's the Dean, she's the Rose between these two old thorns, Alexandra, and I'm Steve. And this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV. We'll be back with more on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, next.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV. I'm Steve Goff, along with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Alixzandra Jyawook, and on the air with you till 2:30 from the warm and friendly Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. We also happen to have a special guest in the studio with us today, broadcast legend and Hall of Famer from WILX Sports, Fred Heumann. Don't chuckle, Fred. It's the truth. Thanks for stepping in, Uncle Fred. We appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Why don't you get Tim's opinion on that?
Well, no,
It's quite a lofty
I tried to
introduction.
give him kudos too, and he denies.
We
it.
hired him 5 years ago. They said we need a Hall of Famer in here. I said, well, then hire him.
I thought you were going to say we hired him 5 years ago and he hasn't left.
That's true, too.
Can't get rid of him.
That's true, too.
Well, thanks for jumping in with us
No
today.
problem.
We appreciate
He only
that.
joined our staff because he wanted to work with somebody older than he is.
Yeah, well, we found it.
So
He's not that old. He's not that much older than me. I did my research.
Pleasure to be here. Game day's always fun, isn't it?
I tell you, Fred. First of all, we want to thank you for coming in today. So, Tim, what do you have? When you guys are at WILX, do you talk about Spartan football? Do you talk about what is a conversation like? I want to go behind the scenes.
Talk is
talk
is one word. How about How about favorite arguments all day?
I mean, if you want it straight,
Yes.
what we discuss mostly, and I do have open ears on this, is there'll be days where the rundown has. I say to him, "What do you think we ought to lead with tonight?" And one of the issues with Michigan State football is how much do you give it if they're not in first place or they're not ranked or they're an underdog or if they're having an average season. Because then you have to decide what is the interest with this as the lead story. Is it just because it's Michigan State football, so it's obviously number one, or is there something else? Could be anything. All right, that would make sense to lead with that. He'll tell you straight that I say, "What would you lead with?" And he'll say it, and usually I do it because if I only ask him if I'm not sure myself.
Well, what do you do? Do you ask him the same questions?
No, he doesn't do that.
And then we end up like my wife and I driving up and down trying to figure out where to go for dinner?
I tell my people it's never a bad call in this market to lead Michigan State anything.
Yeah.
I just think there's that, and especially with the two major sports, and the two major sports we all know are football and basketball. That's not to say hockey and other sports there and the non-revenue sports don't have their place, but let's face it, the big two at that school is football and basketball, and they're all trying to make football a higher priority over there because even Tom Izzo will tell us we're better off when football's better. Sure. And that's why he's always so much behind it.
And I tease him all the time, over the course of a calendar year, why does Izzo get more airtime than I do? But partly
because he has more to say,
well,
usually.
There's two reasons. Number one, their success level. Yeah. And number two, he's good with a microphone. Yeah. I mean, he gives you something constantly that you know, there are a lot of coaches that we say to each other, what are we going to get out of this? And with Izzo, he'll say, what do you want? You got 4 options.
Yeah.
Why do you think somebody like Tom Izzo stuck around here for so long?
He loves it here because he's had success. He's a big deal here. He can determine his own future here more than anywhere else. Fred will tell you, he gripes constantly. Constantly. What did he say to you the other day? He said, I'm absolutely miserable, and I'm the happiest coach in America.
Right.
And didn't he say that to you?
He said something like that. He is happy being miserable. But I think back to your question, I think he feels a long loyalty for getting this opportunity that he got many, many years ago, that Judd Heathcote basically went on a sword to get him the job. Heathcote, as Tim will tell you, stayed around an extra year to make sure Izzo got that job, and it worked.
Yeah.
And he had to fight some people, and a couple of years in, people were you know, unless people have been around here a long time, and Tim and I have, they forget how people were calling for Izzo's skin. I mean, and Izzo remembers that. And I think he feels a loyalty here because they gave him his coaching opportunity and they stuck with him through some hard times. I think that's a big deal to him. And now, and frankly, 10 years ago, I told you he's not long for here. And here it is 10 years later, and he ain't never leaving now. He's obviously going to play it out here. When that is, I don't know. All he ever says about that is there will not be a farewell season. There will not be a big swan song. There will not be a lot of ceremonies. It'll be sayonara.
Well, and he says to the two of us all the time, I'll be going a lot quicker than before you guys are. And I always say, how much do you want to bet on that? Now, what could change that for anyone, including us, is health.
Yeah.
If his health changes, but look, they're still getting players. They just got one this week, right, who's a 4-star. Yeah. They're still getting players. There's still high expectations. I think there's a lot of stuff about the college game that is aging him as it is all these other coaches. I mean, Bruce Pearl just got out at Auburn. It was, and he went to the Final Four. Yep. But I think this just wears all these guys out. But he is so tied into Michigan State's heritage now.
To your point, Tim, about that, is he the last of a dying breed?
Absolutely. That's
well,
correct.
I don't disagree with that. We aren't going to see careers like his anymore.
31 years at the same school in a major sport.
Never happens
31
anymore.
years at the same school in a major sport. I mean, I was surprised this week, and I think they were very wise to do it, that Duke extended John Shire's contract 6 years to 2031. Whether he goes that long remains to be seen. But these, and not only that, none of these coaches, including Tom, know where college sports are headed in the future. Nobody knows that.
Well, the way that it's going with the players is now kind of that way with the coaches. I mean, it's kind of following the same pattern. People don't stick around very long.
They're all free agents.
Yeah.
They're all free agents. But I still think he has and they're lucky to have him, to have a loyalty to this place. And believe me, he'll tell you this is not a place without faults, okay? Oh. And it's not a place that hasn't done some things poorly over the years in a lot of areas, and that bothers him. I do think that he has felt, maybe wrongfully so, that I can help fix this place. I think that's a big deal to him, and I think he has helped in that regard. But I'll tell you one thing, we both agree, this place will never be the same when he's gone.
Well, and I didn't want to turn this first segment into a giving flowers to Tom Izzo, but I will say I feel like with Tom Izzo here, it's a good attractant for the kind of coaches that we've got in the other sports as well.
Well, not to mention student athletes and student body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't think there are people that go to school here that have no interest in playing sports just because Tom Izzo's the coach, you're crazy.
Yeah, they want to be around him.
He's a recruiting gem without even trying to recruit. He recruits not only student athletes, he recruits students here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that go to school at Michigan State because Tom Izzo's the basketball coach. Right or wrong, that's the case. He's an icon here. And back to your point, we'll never see another one like that.
No, not. I mean, this is his 31st year. But like Fred says, those first 2 years, boy, I tell you what, if he hadn't had Joel Ferguson here on the board, it would have been 50-50 that they would have got rid of him. But like Fred says, Judd, I mean, to Judd, it was a principle, I think, almost more to what Judd thought he'd accomplished in 19 seasons. I'm going to name my successor. Now, you got to remember at the time, the athletic director was Marilee Dean Baker, who was a relative newcomer, all right, at Michigan State. And I remember, it's going to be a nationwide search. And Judd and Joel said, no, it's not going to be a nationwide search. You're going to hire him. I think that Judd felt, I've earned the right to name my successor, and it was going to be Tom. But like Judd says, and we all miss him. Like he said, my greatest contribution to Michigan State, I got you, Izzo.
No, wow.
Well, he's right. You can't knock that.
And he's right.
You can't argue with that theory.
I mean, it's 31 years compared to his one national title.
Right.
And to Judd's point, I think Irvin was going to come here, whether Judd was coach or Gus was coach. I think Irvin would have ended up here anyway. Now, Judd was very humble, but Judd told it like he says, I got him. And to Judd's point, he wouldn't have been here without Judd.
Yeah.
Would not have happened. And I don't think at the end of the second year, that was the third year, once they got some Flint kids, that things started to turn around here.
What kind of legacy does Izzo leave when he finally does retire? And what's the over-under on whether he moves back home or if he stays here?
Moves back home, meaning?
Way up north.
Oh, I think he's a lifer here.
Yeah.
He'll have a place there. He has places he goes. He has a cottage. He has other places he wants to go. But I think he's an East Lansing guy, and I think he likes it here, and I think he likes being Tom Izzo here, and I think he likes Michigan State, and I think he'll stick around and go to the games and hang around the football and basketball teams. I just think that's his life.
However, I think in a way he's like me. He's in denial that it's just never going to end. And let's just keep doing what we do day after day after day. I think I think he pictures himself doing what he's doing forever. He talks the talk about getting out, but
will he really get out? That's the thing.
He doesn't know.
Let's
I
say
agree.
he retires. Does he really
He told me one time, the reason Bobby Knight and Gene Cady and those coaches, Bo Ryan, the reason they got out, they didn't take a stupid pill. They couldn't get the players anymore. And I always remember he said that. I believe he believes that. As long as he can get the players so that Michigan State basketball is living on the throne that it's at, as long as if it goes downhill, then I think it'll be to the point where then he'll look at it. I mean, if he does TV, it'd be the way Nick Saban did it. Well, I'm out because that's what I wanted to do. Oh, somebody's calling me about TV. Well, what is it? Let me think about it. I mean, he would be a natural for television, yes, but whether that's in his game plan. I mean, I think he's in denial like I am. He don't want it to end.
Well, like I said, when it does end, I don't think it really ends. I think he sticks around and watches from not so afar. He won't be able to get his hands off.
But he doesn't have other interests either.
Right.
His interest he has two interests: winning and getting new players.
Sure.
And that's not an exaggeration.
And keeping Lupe happy. I mean, let's be honest.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
hey,
you said that. I mean, I guess I'll have no comment at this time.
Fred, can you stick around for one more segment with us?
Sure. We should probably talk a little football.
Yeah, let's do that. X's and O's coming up in a few. Time for another break as the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show rolls along. He's the Dean, and he is Fred Heumann. I'm Steve. I'm just kind of taking up space. It's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV in our studios, courtesy of Duckett Brothers Distributing. Back with more on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV here on the Lansing Sports Network, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. I'm Steve Goff, along with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and, of course, the legendary Uncle Fred Heumann, our special guest today. Uncle Fred, the Hall of Famer. Man, how's that treating you?
We fooled some people. As George Perlis used to tell Tim and used to tell me, still fooling them, huh? He said that to both of us all the time.
Just every other day.
Boy, he loved giving it to you, didn't he?
He said that to me all the time on the Tailgate Show. We'd come to the Tailgate Show on Saturday morning, and he said, oh, you're still employed, huh? Still fooling them, huh?
Yeah, he said that to me. Still fooling them, Fred?
Still fooling them.
Since we talked about Tom Izzo, let's real quick.
You want one more quick George thing?
Yeah, I want to talk about George. I want to hear you guys' thoughts.
Just one quick thing. He introduced me at a dinner. And he was speaking, or I introduced him, excuse me, and so I introduced him. He gets up and he said, yeah, Tim's been a real close friend for a long time. I was very happy to recommend him for a really good TV job in Miami. I recommended him really hard, and he didn't get it. Boy, nobody's sorrier that he didn't get it than I am. He was
dead serious.
What a gem.
Dead serious. He says, it got a good laugh.
I bet it did.
It got a good laugh.
Tim and I talk about this all the time. Covering teams are so different than they used to be. People in the public will ask us questions about, like in August, how do the Spartans look? People have no idea how little the media sees anymore. We see about 10 minutes of calisthenics, and maybe the quarterbacks play catch, and then we're out of there.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about me and Tim. I'm talking about even your beat writers.
Oh, yeah.
We don't see practices. We don't have access to the team. We don't even get individual interviews anymore. Everything is press conference related. So it's much less intimate. And to your point about George, I remember used to hang around practice, and we'd watch the whole practice.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be standing around the sidelines, and here's Perlis during the middle of practice because he knew me. Saying, hey, Freddie, anything we can do for you? You need me now? Or which players do you need?
He did that all the time.
You realize that never happened? We don't even get to watch practice anymore, let alone have the coach come over and do a little interview with us. It's just so much different. We both prefer the old days.
Then you'd go over there, and they get ready for a game, and some star player would have been injured on the previous Saturday. Is he going to play next week? And say, George, is John Doe a star quarterback? Is he going to play next week? No, I don't think he can play. He's just not good. He's not going to be healthy enough. And you'd say, boy, you're giving that to the other team now. He says, I don't believe in that cloak and dagger stuff.
Yeah.
He's not going to play. Well, today...
Yeah.
I mean, the Big Ten mandates availability reports because of the emphasis on gambling. And I think those things, they're all listed as questionable.
Right.
Well, earlier this week, Jonathan Smith said something to the tune of, I don't want to give Coach Rule too much today. When somebody asked him about an injury to the players, and he, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's different.
You don't get any specifics. You get lower body or upper body.
Yeah.
You don't know if that's an arm, a toe, an elbow, a calf. You don't get any specifics anymore. It's just a different ballgame. But George was a different person in his own right, and he just felt to the people that he knew well in the media, he'd give them whatever they want. That's just the way it is.
But now, he didn't have the gambling issues there are today.
Right.
Colleges endorse gambling on the games.
Sure,
we got FanDuel's, we got betting things on all the TV telecasts, bet the game, bet the parlay, bet all that. That's why the Big Ten said you got to be more credible on the way you dish out injuries. But I think it's still, like today. Is Michigan State's running back, Malachi, is he going to play today? If he does, is he going to carry 2 times, 20 times? No, 0? I mean, they don't want Nebraska to know that.
Sure.
So what do the gamblers do? I mean, it's a new dynamic with this betting on these games that never used to be a part of this before.
Yeah, well, it is a much different time these days.
I'll say it is.
I wonder how you feel Perlis would do in this modern era.
Well, he'd have to adjust to the times, and he would. But winning coaches are winning coaches are winning coaches, and bad coaches are bad coaches. The times really don't matter.
Sure.
I mean, Tom Izzo could win in any era. George Perlis could win in any era. Bo Schembech, he said, well, that old school Bo stuff wouldn't work anymore. Bull crap.
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
You'd get the right players. They would work just fine.
You got to command respect from your players, and guys like that can do it.
If Perlis needed money, it's my opinion, he knew enough movers and shakers in the world all over the place that if he went to so-and-so, because he's got such a Michigan State background, whether Jonathan Smith has that or not, or anybody else at Michigan State who does not have a pedigree from here, I don't know. George knew everybody.
Yeah.
So if he needed money, my guess is for to pay players and get them out of the portal. My guess is he'd figure out a way to compete that way.
I agree with that. Well, let's break down some X's and O's, the offensive and defensive keys to the game today, fueled by Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar. We'll start with the offensive keys, Tim. Do you think the game is in Michigan State's hands today at all? Do you think they've got a shot? Do you think it's a toss-up? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Nebraska's the favorite, like everybody else seems to think, for a variety of different reasons. I mean, people say, well, Aiden Childs has played pretty well through the 4 games, and to some degree he has. I thought he missed a few passes in the second half at Southern Cal. Now, he made a couple plays, too. I don't know whether Nebraska's defense is better or will play better today than what Southern Cal did 2 weeks ago. I think Michigan State clearly wants to run the ball and clearly wanted to run the ball against Southern Cal. You can do that when the game's still on the line. But then when it was 31-10, those days are over. Now you got to throw the ball all over the place.
Are you not confident in Aiden Childs passing?
Well, I think it depends on who he plays.
Yeah.
I think and who are his receivers? Is Marsh in the game? Is the guy on the other side? Is he in the game?
Well, I think you're going to have...
Is the offensive line blocking for him? I mean, if it's Youngstown State, the offensive line will block for him.
Sure.
If it's Michigan, it's going to be a lot... I mean, I always say, who are you playing?
Who are you playing against?
So, I mean, did he look good in some of these games? On some plays, he did. But I thought there were a couple that he missed when it was 31-24 against Southern Cal. Look, the issue is he has got to play well for them. He has to. I mean, most quarterbacks on any team must play well. In his case, he certainly has to play well. He's a very good scrambler. We've seen that. He's made plays that are broken and got down the field. I think the key today is, can Nebraska contain him? And Southern Cal didn't always do it, and that's why they scored 31 points, in my opinion.
Well, is Nebraska better than Southern Cal?
Well, I don't know that. Defensively, I don't know. I think Southern Cal and Nebraska are pretty close offensively. I think what hurts State is Nebraska is in a horrible mood today.
Yeah.
Because they thought they let it get away, a chance to get to the next level. We're undefeated. Let's beat Michigan. And they lost by 3. And they didn't have a game last week. So they've been stewing about this for 2 weeks. Their talk is to go ahead and come back and resolve that today with a home win over Michigan State. That's the talk. Now, State's had 2 weeks to prepare for this. Did they learn anything from Southern Cal or not? I mean, it's understandable to me why Nebraska's a 10-point favorite. Would I be shocked if State won? No.
And, before you jump into the defense, I will say I think this is a big game today for State in terms of how the rest of the season goes. When I look at those other games, Indiana, that's questionable. Michigan's debatable. All those other games, Iowa down the road. Penn State, Maryland in Detroit. All those other games could go either way. If Michigan State can get this one today over the Cornhuskers, I think it can shape not only their record differently, I think it can shape their mindset and their attitude for the rest of the season, because not all those games are what I'd call winnable. This is not necessarily a winnable game today, but it could be gotten if the right things happen. And so I thought that about Boston College a few weeks ago, but it turns out the Boston College win for Michigan State wasn't quite as big a win as we thought based on what Boston College has done since. And I think this is a similar situation. If they could go into Lincoln today and upset Nebraska, I think it could shape the rest of the season. It could decide whether you'll go to a bowl game or not, and I think it could help you spring an upset down the line, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Not that they're going to lose all these games, but I think today's game would be big in that regard for Michigan State's future this season.
I mean, it gets 2 for the price of 1. Because then they'll beat UCLA. They got 2 wins in a row, and at the turn, 6 down, 6 to go, they're 5-1.
They're 5-1.
Well, he's going to have to make use of all those offensive weapons that he's got at his disposal. All right, we're talking with Fred Heumann today on the Spartan Tailgate Show. Fred, the defensive keys today.
Well, the key is to get some pass rush, but they've been saying that since August. I mean, I'd like to see Jalen Thompson and that Quindarius Dunnigan run around the other team's backfield a little bit. They don't seem to get the penetration. I'm not talking necessarily about sacks. I'm talking about pressuring the quarterback. They don't seem to get that pressure, and it leaves the defensive secondary, which is, I would say, average or a little above average anyway, under a lot of stress. You can't cover these receivers in modern-day football forever. You've got to get a defensive pass rush. You've got, whether that's by blitzing, but then if you start blitzing, you open up the secondary for the home run ball. I mean, but they had talked in the offseason about how we've upgraded our defensive. I don't even know if it's necessarily the defensive line, but our defensive presence, so we're going to get more pressure on the quarterback. Frankly, I haven't seen that yet. A lot of season left, but I think that's what's the key today and the key to the rest of the season. They've got to chase that quarterback around and make him uncomfortable.
Sure.
So far, I don't think they have.
Well, they've. I'll tell you what, the guy in the middle, Alex Van Sumeren from Essexville Garber, is a beast.
Yeah, he is.
Man alive, and he's done great things in the middle this year, and only has more great things on the way. But with injuries to the linebackers. That really hurt us last game, and an ejection, which was questionable. Healthy, if they're healthy today, can they get it done?
And believe it or not, even though Wayne Matthews was carted off the field with that scary-looking injury, he may well play today. How much and how effective, we don't know. But they need players. They need that depth chart filled out. Losing players at this time of the season, especially on defense, can't be good for Michigan State.
And Michigan's defense got pressure on Dylan Raiola, and he was never comfortable all day long.
That's what I mean, though. You make that other quarterback uncomfortable, it changes the whole look of the game.
I mean, Michigan's defense made his day brutally
miserable.
Difficult. I mean, he's considered, a top-tier quarterback, and when they were playing Akron and some of those teams they played, he was.
Yeah.
But Michigan got after him. Yeah. And remember, the 27 points, one was a Hail Mary, so that's not really a design play or anything. And they were off balance all day long. Now, whether Michigan State's defense can do that, and not only that, can they stop Nebraska from running the ball? Because everybody else Southern Cal was winded from running up and down the field on them.
And in the bigger picture, Steve, I think that's one of the keys for Michigan State in its future. They need to recruit more defensive studs. They need to recruit those animals.
I agree.
In the years that Michigan State has had winning teams, their defenses have been dominant. They had that Spartan dog mentality, as they like to term it. I think they need more of that. I think in recruiting for the future, too, they need to get more defensive studs.
Your keys to the game, fueled by Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar, and the Spartans hope to deliver on both sides of the ball today. We'll deliver your weather updates and be back with more when the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV, continues live from our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and Lansing's Big Talker 1240 WJIM.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, live from the Spartan Studios, the Spartan Tailgate Studios, presented by Duckett Brothers Distributing. I love our studios here. They're nice and warm. You're going to really appreciate how warm it is in this studio when it's finally 30 below outside and we're doing this show. Right now, it's not so bad.
I don't
Beautiful
know. I
weather.
heard we might be out there in November.
Yeah, we're thinking about November 15th. That's the latest into the season we will have done a Spartan Tailgate Show on Munn Field, so we're hoping to get out there. Well, in the meantime, we got a game happening in Lincoln, Nebraska. And today marks the 14th meeting between Michigan State and Nebraska, a series that began 111 years ago, even older than Tim Staudt.
Yep.
It began in 1914 in Lincoln. It was a 24-0 loss, followed by 6 more Spartan losses. MSU's first victory over Nebraska came in November of 2013. Tim, you may remember this game, a 41-28 victory in Lincoln. The Spartan defense forced 5 turnovers, and Jeremy Langford ran all over the field for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. Connor Cook had 193 in the air and a touchdown to Keith Mumphrey. Man, he was fun to watch. That victory was the first of 4 over the next 6 matchups. Now, 11 years ago on this exact date, the Spartans were at home at Spartan Stadium, ranked number 10 in the country, and Nebraska was 19th. And the Spartans held on for a 27-22 victory. Since then, the winning team has won by 3 or less. What do you remember about that game, Tim?
Well, there are two that come to mind for different reasons. I mean, the rap on Nebraska back for that, there was a punt return that won the game, wasn't it? Is that the game? The punt return. Brock was at I think it was the punt. It was a night game. And Nebraska, did everything to win that. I mean, they had that game dominated. Mm-hmm. They had it won. And Michigan State had some kind of a fake return with two guys over here, and a guy snuck over here, and they kicked it right to the guy, and he runs it back for a punt return. So Nebraska gets out of it after leading the entire game and lost it. But that isn't the number one game. I'm like most coaches. I don't remember a lot of the wins as much
you
as
remember the losses.
Well, Nick Saban's very first game as the Michigan State coach in 1995, those of my generation who've been around here would tell you that the greatest visiting team ever to come into Spartan Stadium, and I can't argue it, was the 1995 Tom Osborne Nebraska team with Lawrence Phillips as the running back. They won that game 51-7. It was Nick's first game. And, of course, all the anticipation because Nick Saban's a new head coach. Now, I'll never forget after the game, like Nick said, we quit. Now, I don't know that they did quit, but he went over and we quit. Our players quit. Our players quit. He was never used to a loss like that. But that Nebraska team, I think they went on to win they just romped. I never saw so much talent on a college football field as what Nebraska had. And frankly, they got them all out of there in the fourth quarter. Now, the next week, to Nick's credit, they went down to Louisville and won in the rain down there. So it wasn't as if that loss festered. But that Nebraska team in 1995, and that's what those fans are used to seeing from years ago. Great talent, from whether it was Bob Devaney, who had a Michigan State background, was a Nebraska coach, Tom Osborne, who Peter McPherson tried to hire as the Michigan State football coach when Saban left. He was on cloud 80 trying to think that was going to happen. He offered Osborne the job at Michigan State, knowing, I thought, you think Tom Osborne's coming to Michigan State? And he was like 64, 5 years old at the time to begin with. Why is he leaving Nebraska anyway? Which he didn't, right? But that 95 Nebraska, that's what Nebraska wants to get back to. They think they can get back to that.
Yeah.
This team State's playing today is nowhere near Nebraska, and I'm near that. But that talent on that team at 95. But to Nick's credit, they used that, and then Michigan State got better. But you know what? Like, I remember talking to Nick about this. You can get crushed by that, but now your players know where you stand. You go beat these teams 50-0 in the September in those non-conference games. Everybody's giddy about so-and-so just ran for 250 yards and 5 touchdowns. Well, see if he can do it against Michigan, right? Or see if he can do it against Ohio State, because that's who you have to beat if you want to be elite, right?
Sure.
So I think that's why today's game for both Nebraska and Michigan State is crucial. They both have to get a win today, and only one of them can do it.
And MSU has won the last 2 games, both in East Lansing and both by 3 points. Again, these teams always play each other tough. It's not a rivalry in the traditional sense.
They're usually both desperate for a win when they play.
And here we are again. History repeats itself.
Now you say, well, why are they desperate? They're both 3-1 because they both want to get to the next level.
This is a catalyst game, and we're going to say that throughout this show, I'm sure, today. It's a catalyst game for both teams, as this game could be a true reflection of the rest of the season.
I mean realistically,
it's a good measuring
Jonathan
stick.
Smith's record here is 8-8, so it's early. I get that, but I think a lot of Michigan State fans who think this is going to be different need to be convinced. And you're not going to convince them beating Youngstown State. You got to convince them winning big games.
You think this is a big enough game to make a switch flip with the Spartan fans?
Well, it's going to put them. The bandwagon will start growing, no question about it, because then they're going to win homecoming. So then they're going to be 5-1 with 2 straight Big Ten wins going to Indiana, and everybody's going to think Indiana will just automatically win down there. And I always say State's the most dangerous on the road when they're an underdog.
Sure.
When they're an underdog, like they are today, like they were at Southern Cal, that to me is when they're both dangerous. I mean, after Southern Cal got that, they went right down the field, kicked a field goal, and then State hit the big pass. Now they're up 7-3. So, I mean, it's not like they just folded right away. We're behind for good. We're never coming back.
Well, MSU's defense is going to be challenged for the second straight game today, Alexandra. What do you think they need to do to keep this game competitive?
Well, Coach Smith said that this week at his press conference, they spent an early amount of time the past few practices really reviewing the tape and the mistakes that were made at USC so that we can really try and prevent those. What they did, what they didn't do well, and then he flipped the script to Nebraska. They reviewed the tape with Nebraska, found the holes, found the opportunities that, we're going to be going up against, and his goal has been recovery. But now going into Nebraska, we need to work at being better at affecting the passer, have containment on the edges. And Raiola thrives when he can extend outside of the pocket, so we need to be able to put pressure on him and also be able to rush to capture his escape routes because he's quick-witted. He's a smart quarterback. He knows how to read a route, and so we need to be more tactful and less predictable about our zones, about man-to-man coverage for too long, or else he's going to pick up on that. He's going to read and adjust quickly. So we need to be tackling in space, preventing chunk gains, and doing our best to, again, instigate mistakes or penalties like we saw with USC.
Well, she should talk to the team. They don't need the coaches.
They don't need
let her talk.
Firing them up.
Let her
here.
talk to the team.
Good job.
The coaches will never get that message through.
And based on what Miss Jyawook just said, Tim, do you see any comparisons between Raiola and Aiden Childs?
I was just trying to stay with her on that right there. She left me in the dirt a long time ago. I think there's too many other components that go with it. Do either of them have better blocking or not?
Right.
Do either of them have penalties they got to overcome? Do either of them have drop passes? Do either of them have any running game help whatsoever? Are either of them throwing downhill or into them? There's just so many quarterbacks. I had a high school. My kid played quarterback for 2 years on a huge losing team. And I remember telling him, I thought, frankly, you played pretty well, but man, you got to have a couple guys block for you. Got to do this, this, and this, and that's the nature of quarterback play. How much help do you get around you? If you don't have a whole lot of help, or if you look at Jared Goff, he has a lot of help around him.
Sure he does.
He's pretty good, but he's got a lot of help around him too, right? So I think Mahomes is pretty good. But he's got some help around him, too.
New York Giants, Jackson Dart, still needs that help around him.
Yes, he does. Is he on your fantasy team, by the way?
No, he's not. I'm just excited to see kind of this young new blood of quarterbacks coming up and the energy that they bring to the new roster.
Well, I think that's going to be a key. I think Tim's right. I think, depending on the protection that the quarterback gets, with all the weapons he's got at his disposal, as long as he's got protection, Aiden Childs should be okay moving the ball. Defensively, you made a great point. Can they penetrate? Can they get into the backfield? Can they make Dominic Raiola feel the pressure? And then, this is the hard part, Tim. I'm not overly confident in our defensive backfield.
Well, that's what everybody else says.
Yeah.
That's everybody else's evaluation. Teams have thrown on them.
It's not the no-fly zone.
Boston College threw on them.
And they wanted to be.
Youngstown State threw on them. Western Michigan didn't throw on them because they don't have a quarterback. And in the first game, you don't really know what everybody's got and all that. But trust me, Nebraska's going to throw the ball today.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to throw the ball.
Well, whatever happens tonight, it certainly won't come easy to MSU. Last weekend was certainly that way, and that brings us to our Coors Light making it look easy play of the game. This one from explosive MSU transfer Omari Kelly.
For Aiden Childs and the Spartans at their 25. Aiden Childs winds up and throws it deep along the right sideline. It's caught on the run by Omari Kelly. Omari Kelly all by himself into the end zone for a touchdown, but there could be a flag in the backfield. There is. Let's check the flag and see if this play is going to have to come back.
I think they might get USC for roughing the passer.
That would be terrific. Omari Kelly into the end zone for a Spartan score. Can we say touchdown MSU? Yes, we can. A 75-yard touchdown.
It's our friend George Blaha on the call from the Spartan Media Network.
Not a whole lot did look easy for the Spartans against USC, and this is sounding kind of like a broken record. But for the third straight game, Omari Kelly makes a pivotal play for Michigan State. You guys, he's explosive, and I feel like he's early in the season, he and McCray were on that list.
Right.
Wide receiver of the year list.
Right.
Nick Marsh was not. Now Nick Marsh is getting all the pub, and those two guys haven't, but they've both contributed. And Kelly, he's explosive.
They both stepped up as wide receiver 1 and 2 when Nick Marsh was not able to be there. So I think that gave them a little bit of that rotation mentality that Coach Smith has talked about so often this season of we're going to put guys in the game, it's the next man up.
Again, for the third straight game, Omari Kelly, pivotal play for Michigan State. He is explosive, and he seems to be locked in with Aiden Childs as he's become a huge part of the Spartan offense alongside fellow receivers Nick Marsh and Krishan McCray. Great weapons all for Childs. Let's hope the offensive line blocks too.
And that is our Coors Light, making it look easy play of the game. Coors Light presents to chill or not to chill. Choose chill. Choose Coors Light for the party.
This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. He is Tim Staudt. She's Alixzandra Jyawook. I'm Steve Goff, and we're glad you're here with us today. Kickoff at 4 today in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we'll be here till 2:30 from the Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by the Duckett Brothers after this.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Back for a quick pick final segment on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV. All right, fellas, here we are. Tim Staudt, Fred Heumann, myself, ready to wrap it up. Coach Matt Rule's tough as nails Nebraska Cornhuskers, and both teams coming off losses to ranked teams, MSU to USC, Nebraska to the fellas from down the road. Both teams come in here today 3-1. Both teams are hungry to stay afloat in the Big Ten. This could be a good old-fashioned slugfest, Tim.
Could. I'd say 30-20 Nebraska. And I think a key for State is, Nebraska scored right away last week on Michigan. When they get the ball, they're going to be all fired up. Good. I mean, can State play where they're not behind for the first time, if you know what I mean? And then can you just slow them down a bit to get it to the second half where – and like any other football game, who's going to make mistakes? Nebraska needs this game too.
I was just going to ask you about that.
They're trying to sell this guy. Has got him to the next level. Okay, well, against some of these teams they played, they are at the next level, but they couldn't beat Michigan. So to his point, they need to beat Michigan State today because then they've got one loss, and they got some tough games coming up too.
Now, are you talking about Rule or Raiola?
Rule.
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah, he's talking about the coach.
The coach.
And I think they have upgraded the coach at Nebraska. I think this guy knows what town he's in. Mm-hmm. But as Tim said, both these teams coming off losses does put another dynamic into this game because if you're Nebraska and you're coming off a loss last week on the road, and now you come home and you lose this game to Michigan State, what are they going to be saying there in Lincoln? Oh, same old Cornhuskers. Is this coach really the guy? I mean, they really need this game. I'm not suggesting that Michigan State doesn't, but, you're supposed to win your home games and do reasonably well on the road. This is a road game for Michigan State. This is a home game for Nebraska. And I talked in an earlier segment of how about this is a big game for Michigan State in terms of how this season goes. I think the same thing can be said for Nebraska. I think they look at the schedule and their fans and their backers are saying, we got to beat Michigan State at home. That's a winnable game.
Yeah, they're not ranked. Michigan, I was impressed with Michigan. They went in there and they were, and they're everybody's big game on the road, even though they were not maybe the 2 years ago 15-0 Michigan. All those young guys, freshman quarterback, lost at Oklahoma, and Michigan weathered the storm and got out of there with a win. I don't care if it was 1 point or 100 points, get out of there with a win. Now, Michigan State's not rated, okay? But so, like Fred says, that's a game Nebraska says we got to win this game. We got enough tough games coming up, and they do. Mm-hmm. So this is for Nebraska. Is there pressure on them? Is there result? That Raiola says this won't. What did he say after the Michigan game? He got a little chatty. He said that this is the next game. We're going to salvage everything. We're getting it back next week against Michigan State.
Do you think this is more important than to Nebraska, or more important to Michigan State?
It's important both to them. They're all important.
You think it's equal?
Yeah, State.
Well, is it time to
Jonathan
panic?
Smith's got a 500 record at Michigan State. Okay, He's trying to get. He's got to. I mean, there's no buzz around here. Fred will tell you that from what there's no buzz around here for football at all. Okay, so you need a big win. A win at Nebraska today would get that in a different direction for homecoming because they're going to beat UCLA here regardless.
Yeah, and as Tim earlier in the show, they could, if they win this game and beat UCLA, which they should do next week, they're 5-1. Now you have a buzz. I think the key today is can Aiden Childs and Marsh, as long as he's healthy and appears to be, have a big day. I think that's going to have. They're going to have Marsh have like a 100-yard day, and Aiden Childs is going to have to make some very accurate throws and go deep once in a while. I think that's the X factor for Michigan State, because while Raiola's an outstanding quarterback for Nebraska, I don't think Nebraska has the receivers that Michigan State can have, particularly when Marsh is healthy. If they can go deep on Marsh and have a couple of big plays, I think that could make the difference and turn a game like this that is otherwise even in Michigan State's favor. So I think for Michigan State to win, Childs and Marsh are going to have to big day.
Throw it deep to him, like they did that guy at Southern Cal at the end of the game. Throw it deep. Those guys have speed. Throw it down.
And
there.
that was Omari Kelly, and that was our play earlier that we had in the show. But that's what I was going to say, Fred. Piling on what you were mentioning is there are a lot of weapons there at Aiden Childs' disposal.
You mentioned Omari Kelly, and I meant to. He has been better than any of us thought. Certainly better than I thought. He's been more productive, more of a go-to guy. And what does that do to Marsh? It takes some of the obvious double teaming of him off, because if you double or triple team Marsh, Kelly's going to burn you. That's a big factor. You can't just have one good receiver, and it appears to me that Michigan State has at least two, and Velling's getting healthier and has played well. So that gives Michigan State a better offense than they had coming in, because those two guys can help Marsh. You can't just have one receiver. They're going to shut him down.
With Kelly and Crochet, or Krishawn McCray and Nick Marsh, you've got three top-tier wide receivers right off the bat. Velling is coming along, as you mentioned. There's also the kid from East Lansing, Boyd, who's had a couple chances to get in the games and things like that. They've got a deep wide receiver core.
I'm with Tim. Throw it deep. Throw it deep.
What's your final prediction, Uncle Fred?
Like a score?
Yeah.
37-34 Nebraska.
Whew, even closer. I think in ancient Greece, the Spartans had the phalanx, and I think they need to do that here. Not to get too deep on it, but next man up mentality. It won way back for the ancient Greeks, and that's their namesake.
Well, the other thing
needs to come back to the forefront now.
Another thing is a win today and a win over UCLA. Then they're 5-1 going to Indiana. All right. So would they be an underdog? Probably, but at least they'd feel good, and there'd be some momentum.
Some cushion, too.
I don't, that going down there 5-1, if that happened, okay? I mean, Indiana would have to play. Everybody says they'll kill them again. Well, if you're 5-1 going down there, your players think, we're pretty good. We're 5-1, okay?
Yeah.
So let's go down there and beat them, and then we're ranked.
Yeah.
At 6-1. Then we're ranked. Bring on Michigan.
Well, there you have it. And that's a wrap from the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show presented by Price Right RV. Lots to soak in. Almost time for kickoff. Thanks to my co-host, the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, the longest tenured sports broadcaster in the state. No slouch himself. Uncle Fred Heumann from WILX as well, joining us today. Miss Alixzandra Jyawook from the Lansing Sports Network. Brock Palmbush behind the glass as well. Next game is actually at noon for the kickoff. So we'll have a bright and early tailgate show next Saturday, Tim. So you make sure that you get your sleep the night before. Want to thank our additional sponsors for making today's show possible. Coors Light. Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill. Choose chill. Choose Coors Light for the party. Duckett Brothers Distributing. We never drop the ball on your business janitorial needs. Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar. Shupan Recycling, as leaders in metal and plastic processing. At Shupan, their commitment to a better world goes beyond recycling. Playa Bowls, grab your friends and dive into Playa Bowls where the beach meets the bowl. Feldman Chevrolet, rush into the end zone in a brand new Equinox from Feldman Chevrolet of Lansing. Together, let's drive. And GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lenox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right. Now, stay tuned on the Lansing Sports Network, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, for the Spartan Media Network's pregame coverage of MSU on the road in Lincoln. And they'll take you all the way up to kickoff at 4 with George Blaha on play-by-play, J.U. Kalkrick on color commentary. And until next time, from all of us at the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, go green.